Many water slides all over the world bring thrills and joy to countless people every single year. Then, there are those water slides that people shouldn't ride at all, if they value their lives. These are the latter breed, and they are some of the most dangerous water slides you don't want to ride. 12. Black Hole. Orlando is home to one of the most infamous and dangerous water slides north of the equator. It's called the Black Hole, and calls Wet n Wild Water Park home. People have been severely injured while riding this slide, and the park has faced many lawsuits because of it. One man back in 2000 encountered an unknown object while in the slide and collided with it. When he flew out at the bottom, he noticed that he couldn't move his legs and ended up needing metal plates in his neck. He took the park to court and was awarded a hefty $1.73 million. That's just one of many lawsuits. One girl flew off her tube and collided with the bottom of the slide and sustained severe injuries. Another person's tube somehow came to a total stop and was railed by the person who came down behind them. Another girl had her tube flip inside the slide, hurting her really badly. For a time, the staff would send a rider down every 20 seconds, and the ride takes 23 seconds to complete. Needless to say, this thing is dangerous. 11. Steamer Slide. Oh boy. A water park in Ontario, Canada, called Calypso Water Park, has a bad reputation for not being the safest place to go have a bit of summer fun. Back in 2013, the park was facing 20 different charges for safety violations, and you bet your britches that the steamer slide was part of that. In fact, the charges mainly dealt with the slide, as riders would fly down the slide on tubes, and it got dangerous. The tubes would often flip, leading to injuries, including one person who broke some vertebrae and another who broke a collarbone. These are just two of among many injuries that aided in the trouble the park faced, and they were found guilty of 6 of the charges against them. 10. Cannonball Loop. Okay, so this ridiculous water slide was built at none other than one of the most famous dangerous water parks in the world, Action Park in New Jersey. It was constructed and opened in the summer of 1985, and it was shut down just 1 month later. One would think that the creator of this ride intended for people to get hurt, even though it was advertised as a fun ride. Want to know how you really know this slide was unsafe? Because it was deemed too unsafe for even Action Park, a park considered to be too dangerous for the world in 1996, when it was shut down. Nobody ever died on Cannonball Loop, but many sustained injuries in that 1 month, leading the New Jersey Carnival Amusement Ride Safety Advisory Board to shut it down. 9. Geronimo Falls. This next slide is also located at Action Park in New Jersey, the park that quickly became known as Accident Park. Why? Well, for starters, there were countless accidents and multiple deaths, and the park was just all around dangerous. Geronimo Falls was a great water slide when it existed, and was about as dangerous as it gets. It, in its time, was considered one of the most extreme slides ever, as it was ridiculously steep. People would even begin to lift off from the slide and lose contact, so it's not even allowed to make slides as steep as Geronimo Falls anymore. Guess how they decided to fix things? They installed a metal grate over the slide's opening so that nobody would fly out, which means that a bunch of people would fly up, hit the grate, and then slam back down. Keep in mind, you can reach up to 60 miles per hour on this bad boy, so that would obviously cause some pretty serious injuries. Action Park ran from 1978 to 1996. 8. The Verdant. This sketchy slide is found at Kansas City Water Park, and it's responsible for one of the worst water slide accidents in recent history. Actually, it was probably one of the worst water slide accidents to have ever happened. The slide was first designed with roller coasters in mind, but it quickly became apparent that the engineering needed for both rides was entirely different. The ride almost didn't even come to pass, as when, during testing, rafts kept flying from the ride. Well, maybe it shouldn't have, as in 2016, a young boy named Caleb Schwab stepped onto the slide, and it was the last thing he ever did. The boy, who many argue was too skinny and lightweight to be on it in the first place, was ejected from his raft early on and slammed into the netting above him. The slam caused a fatal injury, too gory and brutal even to mention here. But the moral of the story is that he didn't make it off. Many people witnessed the accident, including the 2 women on the ride with him, who had to be treated for facial injuries following the accident. It had to be shut down for a time, and now, multiple people involved in the construction of the ride are facing murder charges. 7. Aqua Loop. Australia houses Wet n Wild Water Park, which had one of the most dangerous water slides in the world. It has a slide called the Aqua Loop, which makes a full loop upside down, then back to right side up. Well, there was one time when a woman needed to sue the water park because she got stuck in the bottom of the loop and sustained an injury. No, she didn't get hurt because she got stuck and another rider flew down and slid into her. Actually, she found a hatch and got herself out of there before anything like that could happen, but she did dislocate her shoulder while doing so. 6. Aqua Sphere. The Pacific Aquatic Recreation Centre is a health and fitness centre in Australia that has a lot of problems with one of their water slides. The Aqua Sphere has been plagued with issues since its opening, and some of those issues have come in the form of some pretty severe injuries. One boy was tossed from his raft inside the enclosed slide and bounced around like a sneaker in a dryer and knocked unconscious. He was then thrown, limp, from the bottom of the slide, and you can imagine that this incident caused a lot of problems for the PARC. The slide had to be shut down and investigated, but it's not the first time an investigation into the slide has taken place. 2 young boys were severely injured, 2 adults hit their head on the ceiling of this thing, its pipes have burst, and countless other accidents and injuries have occurred. 5. Shoot the Rapids. The world-famous Cedar Rapids is where you'll find this next intense water slide. Riders pile onto a massive raft, sometimes 10 on a single one, and shoot down a gigantic slide. If this doesn't sound like a disaster waiting to happen, we don't know what does. The slide is responsible for one of the worst incidents and worst injuries in the history of water slides. A raft was being mechanically towed up to the top of the hill when something went wrong. A malfunction sent the raft plummeting back down before it flipped upside down and trapped 10 people, still strapped in their seats, underwater. There were men, women, and children on the raft who were all terrified, and one of the women even suffered severe head injuries. Fellow park-goers rushed into the water and attempted to right the raft, and if it weren't for them, the people on the ride probably would have drowned. 4. Ariba Water Park. Now, it's sad when you can't even go to a water park without having to worry about being attacked by other swimmers in the pool. Recently, the Ariba Water Park in Norderstedt, Germany, had to take some pretty drastic measures to keep their visitors safe. On March 4, 2015, 2 teenage girls were having a good time sliding down slides, and when they hit the pool at the bottom, they were attacked by asylum seekers from Afghanistan. The attackers, 2 males aged 14 and 34, assaulted them and security teams quickly had to intervene. They got them separated and detained the young men, while police were called in to help with the situation. The attackers are now awaiting sentencing, and the water park has been forced to deploy security teams into the water, disguised as regular swimmers, and to segregate the men from the women. Not exactly one dangerous water slide, but a whole water park you don't want to visit. 3. Insano. Beach Park in Brazil houses a water slide called Insano that is one of the tallest and scariest water slides in the world. It stands a crazy 154 feet high, which, if you think about it, is about as tall as a 14-story building. With that great height, it goes without saying that riders attain some pretty ridiculous speeds. They fly down the super scary slide at 65 miles per hour. It's been reported by some passengers that their bodies hardly ever touch the slide and that they were airborne for the majority. The ride only lasts between 4 and 5 seconds depending on a few factors, and riders are often in tears by the time they hit the bottom because it's incredibly intimidating and terrifying. Yeah, we'd probably be crying if we had to ride this thing too. 2. Vertigo. The water slide that you see here is in Benidorm, Spain, and caused a pretty severe accident that left a British man on holiday a little more than bruised up. The ride is 110 feet tall, and riders stand in a capsule at the top, waiting on a trapdoor to open, shooting them down onto the thrill ride. Well, the British man, Jamie Norman, was taking his 3rd ride on the slide, and when it was time for the trapdoor to open, it malfunctioned and only opened part way. Jamie said he felt his legs and arms scrape brutally on both sides of the doors before he took a door straight to the face, splitting him open in a few places. He then fell to the bottom in intense pain, and when he reached it, employees pulled him out of the pool that was already turning red and told him, "We'll sew you up." They then had an in-park doctor stitch him up, offered him free tickets to the zoo for his troubles, and ushered him and his family out of the park. Oh, and they also reopened the ride 10 minutes after the accident. He sued. Question. We've seen a lot of sketchy water slides thus far, and we still have one more to go. But first, we'd like to ask you, what's the scariest and most dangerous water slide you've ever ridden? What about amusement rides in general? We'd love to read your answers in the comments below. 1. Emerald Plunge. Located in Dublin, California, this water slide had to be shut down for a year following an accident that happened on opening day at Wave Water Park. The slide ejected a 10-year-old boy who hydroplaned due to his body being too light. His father was the first to ride the slide and said he felt totally unsafe while riding, but when his son went down after him, things quickly went wrong. The boy flew off the slide at the bottom onto cement, injuring his back and no doubt scarred him mentally for life. The employees then told the boy's father that the slide had been tested for height but not for weight, which ended up a costly mistake. The family sued for $2.5 million, and they recently settled out of court with the manufacturer of the slide. Oops. If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor and leave a like. Subscribe to our channel below or by clicking on our logo right here so that you never miss any of our excellent uploads. And check out this next great video that we hand-selected just for you.